On the day we met, no, I won't forget. Something in your eyes lit up in me, like an empty space that I could not face. Suddenly you made my life complete, and I'll be yours. So dry your eyes, I'll be there to hold you in the night. And please don't cry, I will love you till the end of time, until the end of time. Until the end of time. When I'm old and gray, till my dying day, I'll be there to sweep you off your feet. I will help you stand, I will hold your hand, I'll be there when hope is out of reach. And I'll be yours. So dry your eyes, I'll be there to hold you in the night. And please don't cry, I will love you till the end of time, until the end of time. Oh, I will love you till the end of time. There'll be times when we lose our minds, get caught in the longest nights, but I'll be holding on till the seas dry up and the sun burns out. I know that there is no doubt I'll be holding on forever. So dry your eyes, I'll be there to hold you in the night. So please don't cry, I will love you till the end of time, until the end of time. I will love you till the end of time, until the end of time. Maybe a little spark, just a flicker in the street light as you're walking past. Maybe somebody beside you that you don't even know yet, who's gonna rescue your heart. Maybe it's the little things you lose on the way, you forget who you are. So maybe take a chance tonight, 'cause I can see the color blue overshadow you, but you got nothing to lose. 'Cause you're magic, ooh magic, burning like a shooting star. Yeah, you're magic, ooh magic, let your fire light up the dark. No matter who you are, you can make it come true. You got magic in you. Maybe you're waking up with no one beside you, no one to get you through. Maybe you're all dressed up with no one to hold you, and the nights are lonely too. Maybe you gotta believe in all of your dreams, 'cause you know who you are. So baby, take a chance tonight, 'cause I can see your colors true and your flowers bloom. Yeah, you got nothing to lose, 'cause you're take a chance tonight, 'cause I can see your colors true and your flowers bloom. Yeah, you got nothing to lose.
Hello.
Yes. Yes, we are going to start. Yeah. Is it?
Hello.
I'm sorry. Which ceremony? Which?
If he's at the podium, it's me.
We will be invited by the MC, so she will introduce the session and everything.
Okay.
This.
That's your mic. Okay. Maybe I think. Or you have already. Okay, this is the backup.
A very good afternoon, distinguished guests. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, everyone. How was your lunch? Is it great? Good? Awesome. Please give applause to each and every one of you to warming up our event. Before we are heading to the next interesting session, ladies and gentlemen, back again with me, Putri Cahaya, as your master of ceremony for the rest of the day. And I'm so delighted to be back here, ladies and gentlemen. I know and I believe after the lunch break, there's always be a critical time. So we have to bring back our focus and energy by clapping your hands. Once again, please give a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Louder, put your 100% energy. Thank you so much. After had a fruitful session since morning, now we are ready to begin our plenary session part 1, and the title is Domain Name Landscape Current Developments and Business Opportunities. As you can see on stage, we have incredible speakers and also our distinguished moderator, but allow me first to introduce our distinguished moderator, ladies and gentlemen. Please welcome our amazing moderator today, Mr. Leonid Todorov, General Manager of APTLD. Stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, good afternoon, and we are terribly sorry that we still have to compel you, to coerce you to digest some of ideas together with your lunch. But what can we do about that? So it is my pleasure to moderate this session, and you know, we have a great panel here, and you can see them here on stage, and that is Mr. Hasnul of Mynik, CEO of Mynik, and Ms. Jayce, of CSC, our refreshment sponsor. Thank you very much. And Mr. Sergey, yet another Russian at this gathering. Don't consider it the Russian invasion, though. Not at all. He is from IT.com. You saw their roll-up there. And of course, our most hospitable host, Mr. John, and he's from Pandi. And we have, I guess, with us, do we? We have Mr. Tony. Tony, are you with us? Tony Kirsch of their Brand Safety Alliance. Okay, we don't hear you. You're not audible, but still, you're with us. Thank you very much. Okay, all right, so we're going to start our session, and we'll try to make it as interactive as possible. Rules are very simple. For the beginning, we will give the floor to our panelists, but then everybody is more than welcome to give your insights and comments and questions and answers for that matter. So to begin with, just as a warming up exercise, we will be trying a blitz poll on you. Can we get the poll ready now on the screen? Tony, I'm sorry, I guess you will have to disappear for a moment. Right, so if you could just please help us answer a very simple question. Basically, the bottom line is, do we need to be still on stage to discuss domain names if they are just dinos of the internet? Or still a promising development and you will allow us to be on stage still? All right, so we have only 3 answers, but I can see more than 20 people in the room. Can we have more answers, please? Scan the code and let us know. Panelists, you're always welcome to join this exercise. Okay, so we see more people willing to keep us on stage for some reason. That's all right. Never mind. Okay, so let's say that if we have 20 responses, then we're fine with that. We are 3 responses short. Can we have 3 more people join this? Okay, 2, 1, bingo. Here we are. Okay, so now we can see that you still want us to be on stage and you still want to discuss domain names. That's fine. We can bear with this. All right, so let's start our session. Can we bring the first question to all the our panelists to respond? Every panelist will have 5 minutes to elaborate on that question, which is basically the same. Can we put that question on the screen, please? And I mean, the question to the panelists and to our visible to, yes, here it is. In a rapidly evolving identifier universe, domain names may seem an obsolete solution. Should there still be a room for them? So I will ask each and every panelist to respond to this question within 5 minutes. And of course, ladies first. Jayce, would you like to kick off this discussion? And remember, I'll be very strict time-wise, so I have here, you know. Okay, there we go.
Thank you for keeping me honest. So before I start, I'm quite keen to know who's the one person who say domain name is a dinosaur, because you just made my job obsolete. So, of course, from where I'm coming from, a lot of my opinions will be coming from representing the private sector, because as a company, we consult our enterprises on domain management and brand protection matters, right? So to me, in this evolving world, domain name is pretty much still very relevant and very key to my livelihood as well. So where do I come from? I think a lot of companies still do not know what domain names represent and what strategy they should adopt, right? Yesterday's at lunch discussion with Kenny and also with Thomas, when we were talking about companies, you know, registering .inc and all sorts of stuff, and Kenny was asking how would companies know what domain names to register? And I've been in the industry for over 10 years, I still get asked that question, right? So with the vast range of TLDs and CCTLDs in today's world and the markets that we want to operate in, is like, where do I start and where do I stop? And again, what are the rules to registering in .my to .msg and .com, which basically has no rules, right? And a question is also, what is my competition doing? If they are doing something like this, I want to make sure that I don't lose out. And how can I take back a domain name if something is being registered already? So these are still real questions being asked today. So some customers also come to tell me, hey, Jayce, I do not know what I do not know. And guess what? Sometimes I feel the same way as well. if you are like me, this industry, I think, has a lot to give, and I'm still learning. I'm a student of the industry, so I believe there's still a big knowledge gap out there in learning about the domain space. So there are lots of room for growth, in my opinion. If I look from a company perspective, there are maybe simplistically two types of companies, right? One that doesn't know the basics of domain strategy, registrations. And the other type of companies are those that has some idea on what to do, and they have been registering names, and they're probably enforcing their rights. So for the first group of companies, I was thinking the room for growth is to help them understand what are the critical portfolio of domain names you should be in. Should you be registering .com, .my, .co.id, right? And then also learn about helping them to learn about the changing landscape of domain names, because as we speak, new domain names are still being launched day to day. And we also want to help to get ahead and understand new launches and the new blocking mechanisms, the new GTLDs. I don't understand all of them, right? So I believe there's still room for helping companies to understand these strategies. And for the second type of companies who are a bit more savvy, in my opinion, where they are registering names already and they are also enforcing their rights, I think it would be good to help them understand which bad guys are registering look-alike domain names and trying to, launch a phishing campaign potentially. So I think the threats are rising. We have heard from previous panel from Shoko and Janice to say that, phishing is on the rise. And definitely domain threat vector is continuing to rise as well. There are a lot of people registering domain names cheaply so that they can launch a phishing attack. So to me, domain name is not a dinosaur. Dinosaur is extinct, it's still living. So I think domain name is like a good old friend who is still here today. And sometimes it's like a new kid on the block because of new launches and new GTLDs. We're trying to get to understand the flavors of what they offer so that we can be a bit more relevant in today's world. So I feel at this point, even I myself, we should get on top of things and not be complacent thinking that, domain name is obsolete. Hopefully I'm within time.
Awesome. You still have 38 seconds, which you probably saved for Hasnul. Hasnul, you're next. As a CCTLD manager, can you offer your perspective on the matter? Thank you.
Thank you, Leonid. Well, let's look at the numbers. If we look at the numbers, the number of domain names that's under management is basically more than 350 million. So that's a lot of domain names. If it was extinct, no one will be using it. Now, if it's going down, that's a different story. There are emerging technologies, but we have to ask ourselves, why do we go into internet? What are we looking for? And how are we doing it now? In Malaysia itself, 98% of Malaysians actually use Google to find things, and usually the domain name helps basically them find what they need to find. So there's nothing wrong with domain name. Actually, it's thriving, it's growing, and even in Malaysia, in terms of the adoption, is actually quite growing, and I know the world is also growing. Yes, there are post-pandemic adjustment in terms of domain name growth, but that's normal. Even in economics, we do have that 10-year cycle and so on and so forth. So when we go for the internet and we want to create our unique identifier, domain name is always going to be something that we look at. I mean, we ourselves have a name, right? I know one day, I don't know if you want to call yourself another name. If we are known by that name, we want to be called by that name everywhere. So a domain name is a very good place for us to identify ourselves uniquely in the World Wide Web, right? So that's why people use it. And I don't think it's going to go away. It evolves. For example, when the social media came about, there were threats of, oh, maybe people were asking me, is domain name dead? Is website dead? But they don't realize that actually those are also leveraging on the same infrastructure. So it's just a matter of evolution of the domain name that is actually doing that, right? So it's giving a stable foundation infrastructure for people to then build upon all the other knowledge so that we can create more innovative products, either talking about blockchains or AI or any other thing. So it will always be there. That's my belief. It's just a matter of how do we want to use it. So there's always going to be room for innovation, and there will always be challenges, right? But I believe, looking at how domain names survive over the years, what will happen is actually it's going to complement each other. How does basically domain name complement with social media, with e-marketplace, and the rest? Is that okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so short. I mean, probably we will finish even earlier than that. I thought that you will be elaborating more on the issue. Anyway, thank you very, very much. Tony, I mean, we are sorry for keeping you silent for quite a while, but now it's your turn. Thank you. And as a native speaker, I mean, please make sure that you're not that fast in expressing yourself, because not everyone in the room is from the Anglo-Saxon world. Thank you.
Not only Anglo-Saxon, Leonid, but also an Australian, which makes it even more difficult for everybody. So thank you for the introduction. Nice to be here, albeit sadly not in the room. For those who I haven't met, my name is Tony Kirsch. I am a 20-year almost participant of the domain name industry, and I am the Director and Commercial Director of GoDaddy Registry, as well as a new entity called the Brand Safety Alliance, where we have recently introduced domain name blocking services at scale for corporations and trademark owners. But to answer the question, I think that the key word here is around foundation. And the foundation of our home typically doesn't change. Now, in some cases, it may have disease, or in the case of termites and things like that, you need to be very careful to protect the foundation of your home. And in the context of the internet, I think that the DNS is the foundation, and it is, as Web 2 right now, is the foundation of how we manage the web. So what we build on top of it is very, very important, and how we protect the foundation from disease and bad behavior and make sure that everyone believes and trusts in the foundation is important. So the question of, is it a dinosaur? That's one perspective. In my mind, it is the foundation of how we do everything. And as was previously mentioned, it's okay that there is evolution, and it's okay that we build new things on top of that foundation, more rooms for the children. Maybe we decide to have some, extra fun in the house. But by protecting the foundation, we're able to make sure that it remains relevant for a very long period of time. So I think that there are some pillars of activity that those of us in the community must do to protect the foundation. And the first pillar of that relates to consumers and allowing them to trust that the foundation is reliable. As it would be if you moved into your house and you felt the floor start to move, suddenly you're feeling a little worried. But how do we make sure that the trust is working? The DNS itself is very robust, and it has been proven over a 35-year history to be a fantastic foundation. But because we have so many registries today, I personally have been very lucky to launch over 100 TLDs for my own business and also for our customers. As we do so, we need to be aware of emerging technologies. We talked before about social media and search. That's evolving from an identity perspective, and that's evolving in context of, first of all, it was link shorteners, because we didn't want long domain names and we wanted short links because of a memorable marketing perspective. And we'll talk about that in a moment. And now I'm watching it with things like QR codes, which have a great idea of being an identity. It could be just of a small promotion or of something that we want people to go to, but they're extremely easy to hack. So what's our role as the DNS and the registry and the internet community of the people in the room today? QR codes will always have their place. But what we need to reinforce with our members and our community is that domain names have an inherent trust. They work, They represent the identity and the name of your business or your product or your family or your website, whatever it happens to be. And they have an ability to do so in ways that I think are superior to existing identity technologies, or sorry, evolving technologies like QR codes and link shorteners. The second thing I think we need to make sure of, and we've done a good job of this as a community so far, is making sure that availability matches demand. Now, the expansion of the new GTLD program has been fantastic for consumers. As Jayce was referring to earlier, not necessarily so for brand owners. It's been a lot of confusion and fear and anxiety for brand owners because of now having, you know, upwards of 800 or 900 commercially available namespaces in the world. But in particular, CCTLDs and a lot of the more community-focused new GTLDs have created great opportunities for consumers. And frankly, most namespaces have great availability remaining, perhaps outside of .com. So as long as we're able to maintain that availability and make sure that we're allowing consumers to have meaningful URLs, I think as our identity, that becomes really important. So building trust, making sure that we've got availability.
Time's up, Sonny. Sorry,
Perfect.
Tony. Time's up. I told you I'm serious about this. Thank you. You will continue later on because we still have another 17 minutes to go. But I will make sure that you don't deserve all the time. But thank you very much for your insights. I put everything on paper. So, Sergey, I would love to address you in Russian, but at least, you know, nobody will understand it anyway. Carry on.
Okay, so we'll give it a try. Actually, I've been in the domain industry since 2007, and since then, I've heard like multiple times that domain names are dying and that they would be replaced with something else. But like 20 years have passed and we are still there. And since then, domain name industry has grown significantly, and it keeps evolving. Maybe not at pace that it was before, but still we see new registrations, and if you follow VeriSign reports quarterly,
just slow down a little bit.
Yeah, you can see that the number of domains is growing. And we experienced it with ourselves, with IT.com. We've launched like 1.5 years ago, and we see good traction, both from registrars worldwide and registrants, making us sure that there is still a room for domain names. Because domain names, actually, they're a long-standing habit for users. And we all know how hard to change, how difficult to change a long-standing habit. And though new extensions appear, and though there is a tough competition in the domain name market, every new extension appears, almost every new extension that appears still gets some attention from registrants. Making like proving that users still believe in domain names, and we will see likely this to keep continuing because the new GTLD round is coming, and there is a huge interest from existing registries and new registries to participate in it. So we will see even more of that.
Okay.
Okay, this is it.
That was short. Thank you very much. John, your turn, please. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Leonid. Okay, I will start with the let's see the domain outlook currently. So last year, I mean today in Q1 2024, there are 362.4 million increasing new domain in this year. Yeah. So now we have in total in global market, we have 768 million. So comparing to the population, so we can see that there is a room for that to grow. Yeah. So we can see this as two perspectives actually. The first one is we can see it from the business, yeah, from the data that there's possibility that we still have room to grow. Because actually, as we can see in this graph, actually, DNS technology is getting the maturity. So from the birth of let's say 10 years ago or 15 years ago maybe, and then we coming to the maturity process. And the theory, from the management strategy perspective, of course, maybe if there is some new technology will arise, and then there's possibility, of course, the market will be consumed also by the new technology. That's why I think the possibility to grow, the possibility to have another identifier, of course, yes. Yeah, as long as there's suitable for the development of new application. Yeah. So, but I believe still the DNS growing is still have room actually. So this another alternative identifier will be concurrent together, will be access. Yeah, I mean, so we understand that our total population now in the world is about 5 billion. 8 now, yeah, okay.
Yeah,
so I missed 3 billion.
It's okay, yeah, it's just nothing, I mean, minor figure. Yeah.
So even in Indonesia perspective also, we have, you know that Indonesia, we have 270 million population. Internet user is about 170 million. A domain name, especially for the I, is only 1 million now. But it's also growing in this, but still there's opportunity, a big opportunity and market to grow. Yeah, I mean, as long as I mean it's suitable, have appropriate application to growth. Yeah, so we understand that now there's some alternatives like social media and also under alternative. I think it's always like that. I mean, there's of course, Instagram another purpose is it has certain application who answer some certain needs. Yeah, so I think it's not really a matter regarding because for domain name, of course, we can still use it for the web, and the purpose of web application is very many application. We can do some creative way to keep retain the domain name existence. Yeah, it's like, let's say, even to grow the market, yeah, we can do some capacity building, workshop training, and also not only them, even Pandi doing some, we can show that we have EID and also ID chain. This is a blockchain-based technology. We can use it together. I mean, the Web 2 and the Web 3 addressing can go together. Yeah, so because we can bridge them. Let's say what we do in Pandi, so we have a wallet identifier based on Web 2 addressing, but actually we go to the Web 3 addressing. So this is what I call a creative way to extensify the use of the domain name. I think that's my answer for a while. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, John. Right on time. Well, let me just recap a little bit. First of all, of course, I am very much disappointed. The purpose of the forum is just to bring people together to voice differing opinions. But our panel seems to be of the same opinion. Everybody voiced their support for domain names. That's fine. I mean, of course, I would walk off the stage in disappointment, but I'd rather stay with you to torture you a little bit. But let me recap, because there were some very interesting insights which would probably help us stir further discussion. So what we can see is that, hold on a second. So Jayce alluded that domain names are relevant and key. And the competitive market, which is, I mean, the competition is growing as new TLDs are about to arrive at this, will further help us navigate better on the internet. And domain names will perfectly serve strategic purposes, corporate purposes, first of all. And although environment might seem confusing, companies will certainly keep domain names just to protect their legitimate interests. Hasnul suggests that domain names are good, very good and well suited to identify ourselves on the internet and to navigate the internet. And although there are some killers, or there are some purported killers, and we will revisit this matter, of course, still domain names hold up, and they are, and he used this very interesting word, the foundation for the future developments of the internet. So the way how we use domain names these days is a key to understand, and here is he segues into Tony's insights, is a key for the internet's development. Tony followed up with that metaphor of foundation, assuming that so far as the foundation is safe, the whole house is in order. And we've got to protect the foundations and the pillars for that foundation. Among the pillars for that foundation, the most important one is trust. And domain names are that very phenomenon which can be trusted on the internet, as opposed to some other things which may be compromised. And they, once they work, they are superior to emergent technologies. As you can see, every word is written down. And another feature of domain names which is very important, they are viable. They can live through various fluctuations. Sergey suggested that the rumors of domain names' death are exaggeration, just an exaggeration. The number of domain names is growing, which is a sign of their viability, echoing Tony's words. So that means that the global audience still believes in domain names. John suggests that so far, with 8 billion potential internet users, we're still short of, that growth, and we should do our utmost to make sure that the number of domain names is at least equal to the number of internet users, well, at least in Indonesia, for sure. And although alternatives are there and they might cater for specific needs, like new technologies, domain names are also in possession of a very important quality. That is, they can be blended or merged or at least coexist with some new technologies, and that could open yet another window of opportunity for smart domain name managers. I wonder, I mean, the only thing which I think is missing in all this equilibrium is that nobody was candid enough. I mean, nobody on the panel was candid enough to say domain names are our bread and butter, and sometimes even a piece of caviar on top of that. So we would like to preserve them so long as they can feed us. Well, let's be less materialistic then. Okay, let's just be guided by some other considerations. And with that, I think that we should move to yet another question. And this time we hope for the audience to also exercise your best way of thinking. Can we put question 2 on the screen? Thank you. Question 2. If there is still a room for domain names, and we just agreed that there is, which classes of domain names and which of their attributes, and we touched on that very lightly, are best suited for marketing, and how they should be marketed, and by which stakeholders? So a very broad question, but at least we can make some sense out of it. So we will start probably in a reverse order. John, would you like to kick off? Thank you.
Okay, Leonid, thank you. So the way we look on this matter is actually back to the huge market, yeah. So I mean, besides, like I said before, besides the social media things that doesn't need any kind of domain name, let's say, But we can do some certain segmentation of the market. Yeah. So Indonesia, we create some sub-level string actually. It's the purpose we do that is actually to targeting some certain market. So let's say we can, we have, you know that in Indonesia we have many villages. So let's say we create a desa.id. Desa.id is, desa it means a village actually. So then we can targeting for the use of the desa. So we have very many desa in Indonesia. So another one, we create my.id. So this is targeting for the personal user. So everyone can create by, okay, John my ID, let's say like a Leonid my ID. So it's personal segmentation. So, and also we create biz.id, is targeting for the small media company. So, and also not only from the name string, but also from the price, pricing arrangement. Yeah, I mean, we can set up a different price strategy. So then we can, hopefully we can targeting to certain market.
Okay, so you make it pretty personal, right? Can we just run a very quick experiment? So in this audience, people younger than 30 years, can you raise your hands, please? Under 30. From 1 year to 30, let's be clear. 1, 2. Anyway, so 3, 4, and 5, I guess. So how many of you are in possession of domain names? Do you hold any domain names? No, the answer is no. Well, okay, so...
That's really not right, actually. So let's say, for my ID, we're targeting also the teenagers and also below 30, as you said. We have 100,000 personal users for my ID currently. So it's indicate that this is the right strategy to targeting certain market.
I see. Now, my quick question to you, if I'm not lost in that discussion, you know, with all these efforts, so you only target Indonesia, right, for now? So you're just locked within the local...
Actually, my main strategy divided to be 3 parts, actually. The first one is we have to create the awareness for the market, the local market minimally, and also the global market. The second one, we have to do some capacity building, because DNS is also about skill and capability of the user. Yeah, we find Indonesia, let's say as the example, is very low regarding to knowledge of the DNS technology. So that's why what we do is we're doing many training and workshop to the community, to the also the school and university, something like that. The third strategy is actually to channel distribution. So that's why we speak to many other registrar and also other global partner to market domain.id for globalization.
Excellent, excellent. Again, I'm not asking how many foreigners, non-Indonesians are there in the room, because because, you know, for now we do understand that hardly anyone of this audience holds any you know, ID. So that's indeed the audience for you to start working with and you know, educate and raise awareness. Thank you very much. Sergey, your case, I mean your company's case is sort of different. You're not a ccTLD, but anyway, please carry on.
First, I wanted to say that every TLD that is appearing on the market, if properly promoted, it has pretty strong chances to become successful. For example, .xyz. A lot of people were very skeptical about this extension when it appeared, because it's like, it's not a keyword, it's like just a random, you know, set of extension, right? But in the long run, it became very successful. It became one of the most successful TLDs on the market. Why? Because they've properly promoted it. They were very smart about marketing, and they have succeeded. So actually what we see at IT.com also, if you are able to properly identify your target audience and to highlight your string to this target audience, to explain why registrants should prefer your string over others for their particular needs, you will likely be rewarded. Of course, then pricing matters. The TLD should be properly priced for your target audience. And also there are some random factors that can help. So for example, if you introduce a TLD that aligns with some trendy industry, let's say artificial intelligence, .ai. Nobody knew about that like a few years ago. And now .ai is one of the most demanded TLDs on the market, though it's priced very, very high. And actually, .ai success, .io success made us sure that IT.com can become a success because we are competing in some sort with these TLDs. And actually, we were right because we see pretty substantial demand that is growing for our extension. Of course, right timing is the key as well. Because, for example, now we introduce IT.com in a pretty non-competitive environment. Everything has been launched already. A new GTLD round is 2 years ahead. And that means like we start in a fresh environment and we see good traction also because of that. And of course, the channel matters. So if you properly build the channel, if you properly work with the registrars, they will help you to promote your string. And here, as a registry, you just need to be flexible enough, as one size doesn't fit all. But in the long run, this last mile, if properly managed, will be done by registrars, and they will deliver your extension to customers. They will showcase it, and it will be demanded. So just to summarize, I think that every single extension that appears on the market has good chances to success if the management is a proper one, I would say.
So, so far I've just heard from two of our discussants. By the way, if you have any questions, I mean, I'm addressing the audience. If you have any questions or comments on their interjections, you are more than welcome to raise your hand at any time and ask that question. So from what I just heard is that extension matters, smart pricing policy matters, but which classes of domain names are really worth on the market for now, and which attributes, apart from the extension itself, matter on the market, that is, we still need to explore. So I believe now it's time for Tony. Would you like to interject at this point? Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Leonid. So let's go back to the start of the question. When we're talking about marketing, be it a large company or an individual small business, what are we trying to do? We are trying to share information, inspire a particular type of behavior. Obviously, in some cases, we're trying to generate revenue. And the way that we have always done that from a website and domain name perspective is content and sharing stories. And if you think about the evolution of the way that we've done that, it has impacted the domain name industry. So on one hand, we have more customers and more people coming online, and that's great because that stimulates demand. But it's not always as straightforward in the way that these have been marketed. So the evolution of this, if you've been doing this for as long as I have, was before search, there were two major ways to get people to find your stories and to find your content. The first one was very domain name friendly. You know, people would own large portfolios of domain names and funnel traffic to their core site. And there was no issue in doing that. And then the evolution of affiliate marketing, where you could promote your business on someone else's website, sort of slowly started to impact that as a marketing channel. And then to take it a step further, once search came in, we sort of saw that a lot of that link and having multiple domain names pointing to the same place was being penalized, and that disadvantaged the domain name space. So as search evolved and became more popular, and to be honest, a superior service from a customer perspective, that impacted domain names a lot. But the issue more so for us now, I think, is in social media. Even with search, as strong as search and Google and Bing and other platforms have become, there's still a context of having a platform to host your content. And for now, that is websites and domain names. And it may be that for a very long time. Social media does not rely on that. Yes, there are some cases where we might want to share links as part of, or content as part of a social media post that has our website. But for many, it's not that. It's showing photos of my children and things that we're doing on holidays and things like that where I don't need. And the platform becomes the social media. So I can tell you from my experience that many of the larger companies that I work with would like less domain names rather than more. Defensive portfolios and large things that are costing them tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Stop here, just if you could explain defensive portfolio, because not everybody here in the room is aware of that.
Sure. So for many large companies, Leonard, they will hold portfolios of domain names that are significantly greater than the domain names that they use. Now, some of them will be used for brand protection purposes, others will be used for other intellectual property or privacy purposes, but I'm talking ultimately about domain names that are owned by companies that are not used. Okay, so a defensive or a non-used domain registration, but it still costs them money. Now, they've got a desire for alternative measures to protect their intellectual property. I talked before very quickly about the evolution of domain name blocking as a solution to that. But to answer your question specifically, I think there are three things that we need to focus on as an industry, because the classes of the domain names are important, but they're important in context. We need the process of this to be simple. We need registration processes to be simplified. We need our marketing to be simplified. We need to retain the availability that I talked about earlier, and we need to retain affordability. Now, that doesn't mean having extremely cheap domain names, because history will show you that that is often a place that becomes very dangerous for scams and other bad behavior. But I think of it in perhaps a pyramid of some sort. There will always be businesses that would like to market themselves or perhaps represent themselves. This is how we talk about identity. Let's use an IBM. IBM will always use the .com because it is the global standard for representing yourself as a global organization. Now, that may change over time. New TLDs that have emerged have definitely positioned themselves as alternatives to .com and still representing a global initiative. CCTLDs will always remain strong because there are always going to be businesses that want to identify themselves or represent themselves as nationally based. Now, we do have some alternatives to that now. There are city TLDs, for example, .Sydney or .London, and they can compete with a CCTLD for organisations that would like to represent themselves as distinct to that city. And then, of course, we've got niche alternatives, whether it's a .lawyer or a .sport or .music, people who want to identify themselves as a different class. So the classes that we operate right now ultimately are what people identify with, how they would like to represent themselves. So I think as long as that we can ensure that those naming systems are designed to meet those customer needs and those classes match the future of how people would like to perceive themselves and promote themselves, then that's exactly, in my opinion, the way that we need to continue to promote domain names from the perspective of marketing.
Thank you very much. Well, that was an interesting twist, but let me just ask the audience for a second. Can you please, those of you who hold an iPhone, can you raise your hand, please? iPhone owners, proud iPhone owners, can you raise your hand? Okay. Yeah, please keep it for a second. Okay. All right, so like 25%. So probably that's a question for Jayce and Hasnul also to contemplate. Why people, oh yeah, and one more thing, I'm sorry, I forgot. One more thing. Can you raise your hand who's got at least one domain name in your portfolio? At least one domain name bought recently or hold. Okay, 1, 2, 3. People are reluctant. 4. My goodness. 5. Okay, so 5 people versus like 1/3 of the audience. So my question to Jayce and Hasnul and everyone on the panel afterwards, like why people are so keen on buying an expensive iPhone and looks like they don't want to spend a penny on a domain name which we are so fiercely advocating on the stage. So, I mean, in addition to the answer to your question, to an answer to the question on the screen. Jayce, please.
I would like to know the answer too, but I think there is some aspirational message from Apple on what it means to own an iPhone. It's prestige and there's some good security built around it and you can link up with your Apple products, right? So probably, you know, the perception, I think they have done a really good job in marketing these to the public and people just want to go for it because it's prestige. Domain names sometimes are forgotten child, in my opinion. People don't go to bed thinking about domain name generally, not even large corporations, right? So maybe this is my take. Do you want other
No,
panelists?
please. I mean, which classes do you think can compete and perhaps beat, you know, iPhone or Apple Watch going forward? Who knows?
But from my perspective, building from what Tony has said, right? From enterprises' point of view on how they want to treat domains, it really, you need to look inward into their growth potential, where they want to be, the industry they represent. And this pretty much influence the way they want to be represented themselves as a brand, globally or digitally, right? So because of that, then can you really understand and talk about domain name registration strategy with this kind of product companies? Then they can really prioritize whether do I go again .ai, .app or .shop or, you know, continue with, you know, the traditional CCTLDs. Companies launch new brands every now and then. They also break into new markets every now and then. They also register new trademarks every now and then. So if they view trademark as part of intellectual property, they probably will think more, you know, about domain names, and they probably will want to have, you know, permutations of the names to build into the defensive registration strategy alluded by Tony before. So from a company marketing point of view, or even from a new GTLD point of view, as a sports company, I might be more interested in .sport versus a book publishing company. And a bank should really look into, let's say, .bank and .finance. So, but the book company or the sports company wouldn't be interested at all. So marketing leaders are usually the first in line to say, hey, you go market my brand and take my brand internationally and whatnot. But in today's world, organizations' decision-making has become more complex. More stakeholders are being involved. You know, the chief technology officer or the chief product officer might want to vet what the marketing team is doing or writing in their press release to know how the product is being represented, how you're writing about the benefits of iPhone to the user. I want to know what you write because I want to appeal to the masses and I want to bake some other messages from it, right? So I find that in today's world, marketing and also key leaders from product operations, technology, you name it, they're probably interested in, you know, how the digital brand is represented. And also, basing on, you know, interactions with senior leaders in the C-level even, a lot of them come from cross-functional responsibilities as well. So they do understand what the marketing folks is trying to achieve. They also understand what the general counsel would want to see. So this is really my spiel about this topic.
Thank you very much. So Apple owners, before we turn to you, Hasnul, the iPhone owners, have you bought Prestige? Can I just ask a question? If any iPhone owner would like to answer that question. Have you bought Prestige? Were you after Prestige when you were buying the phone? Your phone? iPhone 15. Anybody would dare answer this question? When you were buying the phone, yes, please. I mean, can you give the microphone to the young lady over there? Yeah. I mean, it's just coming up, just behind you. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Hi. So I was never after Prestige. It's more of like a peer pressure because all of my friends are like, why are you using Android? I don't like the green bubble. But it's never about Prestige for me. It's so we can all iMessage each other and send each other fireworks on the message section.
Okay, thank you very much. Now, a domain name owner, can we know, I mean, can we check with you, why did you buy a domain name? Thank you for your very candid response. So that was peer pressure, huh? That's a good thing to think of. A domain name owner, there are 5 of you in the room. Can you explain why did you buy your domain? See, they are so ashamed in the era of social media. They are so, oh, please, please, yet another young lady. Can we have a microphone to the young lady over there, please? If you could just raise your hand because people don't see you. Okay, so they are coming up with a, yeah, please. There it is. Thank you very much for buying our product, by the way, first of all. And now, please.
First of all, it's useful for like portfolio. Like, because for me, like, I need like a portfolio, for example, to like apply jobs. So then like, if I have like a good domain name with like a good, like my name with the domain, like a short domain, then it shows professionalism to the industry people. So then it just seems more trustworthy. I think that's it.
Thank you very much. Professionalism and trustworthiness. That's very, very good words for us. Thank you. We're not asking in which extension you actually acquire your domain name, just because we are not here to market some other extensions, but only ours. Still, Hasnul, your thoughts on the matter?
Well, I do agree with the panelists. It's based on basically our needs. And it's also based on the customer's needs. So, like the iPhone, Apple case, peer pressure. Sometimes it's about sense of belonging. We want to be part of that thing. That's why .ai went and I think became so big because everyone wants to be part of it. But it's not the person who's using it, who's buying it, the person who wants to say something and make a name for themselves. So maybe you're asking why people buy iPhone, Android, as a consumer, but do not really invest in domain names. Well, back to needs and purpose. Now, I buy domain names, but I really don't know what I plan to use it maybe one day. I plan to build a website and also, but I just keep it. So I buy my name, my wife's name, my children's name. So I just register and keep it. I don't know when I'm going to use it, or even I have the time to use it, but I just keep it. Because I feel that maybe one day we can use it. That's my need. But others are different. So we have to see what, and we talk about classes, right? We are classes of marketing and all those things. Who are we targeting? So if we are targeting those who are geographically related, let's say you want to target Malaysia, you want to target certain places. So maybe a certain domain name will be better than others. For example, when I'm in Malaysia, I search for things, very rarely I will see Amazon. Because Amazon does not use .my. But Shopee, Lazada, and all others who use .my will appear very fast. So it depends then again, because I believe they want to target Malaysians. The same last time for Visit Korea. So they bought Visit Korea, I think it was 2020,
whatever
during that time, .my. So they're playing on basically where who they are targeting to create that personalization. So it doesn't mean that basically you have to buy all. It depends again, who are you targeting? Are you doing market penetration? Are you doing market diversification? So we have to then determine. So I'm not surprised that people don't buy it. Part of our developmental program in the rural area also, we have to basically talk about brands. We say you are selling something. You are a small business owner selling something. Do you believe that what you're doing is good? They will say yes, because they believe it. Good. But do you believe that that something is worthwhile that people should know? So when they jump on the bandwagon and actually buy a domain name, they were surprised that in the first month of going through our program, they were able to export, while else they've been in social media and e-marketplace for maybe 3 to 5 years, and they were surprised. So some of their revenue goes from 10,000 ringgit or 5,000 ringgit to 100,000 ringgit in a month, which then we, from our team, say, hey, or they're making more money than us. We only just sell domain names. They basically are making the money in that, which is good. We are happy actually. So it's back to the basics of marketing. Who in the end of the day are you targeting? And then for consumer, they always have the choice because the domain name world is very huge. We have the CCTLD, we have the classical, and we have the new, right? So there's nothing wrong to buy. I always advocate there's nothing wrong for you to buy any of the domain names. But in Malaysia, I say buy .my first lah, right? Then you buy like the rest. We can buy .com for being global. No problem, right? I'm not. Before I was like, oh no, you cannot buy. But after being in the domain name industry for so many years, I realized we live in an ecosystem that we complement each other. Everything has a purpose in life. So the name also has purpose. So therefore, we have to then determine why we want and who are we targeting, what perception and feeling you want to create. Then we will find the right domain name.
That's a good punchline. Sergey, you wanted to add something? I mean, you were looking at me expectantly. So please.
Yeah, I can. Actually, I'm a proud iPhone owner, but like working in the domain industry, I do not have any domains because like I just I asked my question, this question myself many times, and I just do not need one. But if I would need one, I would definitely register one. And like if I am a business, let's say, and I need to showcase my business, I have a website, and I need to promote then I would buy a domain name for sure. iPhone, I use it daily, right? Domain name, I can register and keep it for just in case, but I'm not sure it helps to promote the domain industry in the right way. When we just register something and keep it for years, not using. But once I need a domain name for something, I would definitely get one.
Okay. So, John, you wanted to add something, please? I mean.
Yeah, I think the question of you is actually about the marketing strategy. So back to the .id, actually that's why we define the .id as the identity. It's our positioning strategy actually regarding to the brand .id. So that's why for global market, we promote this .id. But for the local market, we are mostly not promoting .id, but it's automatically will be. Because .id is challenging actually the most popular one, let's say .com. But for corporation in Indonesia, we have co-id. Co-id is stand for corporate. So this is a very, comparing to .id is more expensive, yeah. But still, they still use it now. And also for personal segmentation, we use another one, let's say my ID. So I think your question is how we can value our domain and then engage with the customer. So I think we have to do some creative marketing strategy to do that. Thank you.
I can grant you an idea immediately. You can do a joint venture with MyNick, and you can just start My ID.
Yeah, we just have meeting.
Yes.
This is not actually.
Yes, and My ID, and then it would be a terrific exercise. Tony, you wanted to add something, please.
I think it's interesting to just.
We cannot hear you. We can hear you. I mean, it's okay.
You can hear me now?
Yeah, now it's okay. You're audible. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I just think it's interesting to analyze the landscape here, right? We're talking about marketing, and we need to look at this in the context of what is complementary to the domain name industry and what perhaps might not be. So, as I said to you before, I think that the link shorteners and in particular search have been relatively complementary, not completely, but they certainly haven't really damaged, I don't think, a lot of the domain name industry. I'm not so sure that marketplaces like the Amazon and Facebook marketplaces and things like that are complementary to the domain name industry. It's very easy for me to start a business for my own, you know, paintings, and I don't need to have a domain name to do that. I can just simply sell my product on the storefronts. So those things I think are a threat. And the emergence of Web3, I think, is most likely a threat. I think there are complementary technologies that could work, but ultimately we're talking about an alternative environment that doesn't support the DNS Web 2 domain names that we know and use today. So we're going to talk about this in the next question, I suspect, Leonard, but I think the challenge for us as an industry is to continue to evolve. And when we're talking about marketing, ultimately the goal, I believe, is that your domain name and your online identity, assuming it's your domain name, your email address, perhaps it's even your website content, needs to have a higher value than the alternative. And we need to promote that. We need to talk about the success that 250 million domain names around the world have evolved into $1 trillion plus commercial operation and power the vast majority of how society engages today. I think that's the part that we're not doing a good job of associating the domain name industry to. I think we've let it happen, but what we haven't necessarily done as a community, and some of this is because we have multiple extensions. I mean, it's great that Malaysia and Indonesia can work together, but typically most TLD operators aren't working together as a community outside of APTLD and things like that. But there's no real global standard for that. So I don't think we've done a great job of helping people to understand that the DNS is still the foundation, to use my analogy before, of how we work today. And we haven't done enough work, I don't believe, to, I guess, promote your website and your domain name as a super identity. And I think in the emergence of Web3 and marketplaces, we need to make sure that that's something we continue to do.
Thank you, thank you. Well, actually, that segues us into the third question. If you could just display it on the screen. I hope that you're not tired of these questions. So going forward, and partly already responded to by Tony, what should the industry community do to ensure domain names remain a key category of identifiers within the DNS? So anyone to pick this question on the panel? Yeah, please, Sergey.
From the middle this time, right?
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. So actually, my stance on this, I think we need to keep promoting usage of the domain names. That's the key point here. I mean, prevent those from becoming a purely speculative asset. The first thing we should need to encourage is making domains, as much domains as we could, to have those tied to a website, to an email or something like that. And avoid situations when those are registered en masse purely for the purposes of like investments. When we have huge TLDs that look huge, right? But you would never see any domain in the wild. And how we can promote that? First thing, we should not end up in rally with lowering prices too much. I mean, the price should remain fair, reasonable, as otherwise, like people will register domains for peanuts for just in case. And if they like to pay some reasonable, if they need to pay some reasonable amount, it is more likely that they will use the domain and not just keeping it. So actually, that's the approach we follow at IT.com. And we encourage other registries to follow this approach, because it really, I mean, the fair price really promotes usage and creates a healthy namespace, healthy renewals, less abuse. Abuse is another thing we should take care about to have domain names, to have them as a key, to keep having them as a key online identifier, because threats are emerging. And we need to be, as an industry, we need to be on top of these threats, effectively collaborating to combat abuse. And actually, one more thing, we should keep improving the ways of making convenient the use of domain names. It should be easy for an average user who is not like tech savvy or whatever to configure a domain, to choose a domain, and we should welcome any technology, any modern technology that appears on the market, like AI or something like that, that makes it like just this. You register a domain and here you are online. And in this case, I think we are pretty well secured because domain namespace, as I said, it's a very long-standing habit. And why to choose something else if it is convenient to use, if it is safe, and if it creates a value.
And trustworthy. Thank you. What a blend of messages. Make domains great again. Going hand in hand with a very communist, like, let's not let speculators use this industry for their benefit. And then let's promote competition. Thank you. Anyway, but we will just return to this because there is a question. What factors determine the initial cost and annual renewal fees for new domain registrations? I've noticed significant price variations among domains, including instances of misleading pricing. Anyone to respond? Who misled pricing, you know, I mean, who practiced that? Anyone?
We talk value before we talk pricing. Oh, I do need to see the...
we should respect.
Yeah. So I think many factors. I think not all domain spaces are made equal. Some has been around for a long time and some are new launches. When the new launches, the new GTLD spaces, you know, they probably cost a bit more. So if you are going to participate as an early trademark owner to register as an early bird for new launches, you probably would want to budget a lot more. And I think you heard Sergey talk about how .ai names are more expensive compared to, let's say, your .com. So this determines your budget, because if you are going to participate in some of these new launches, you do need to get a bigger budget for these set of names. .my, I cannot remember, probably would be a bit more
slow down
expensive than .com.my. So I think look into where you want to be and the maturity of the domain spaces. New launches, just so you know, if you participate as a trademark owner, you do have rights to register names before others, before they are launched to land rush or the public face. So therefore, you do need to pay more to secure your brand in those spaces. Yeah, so I think this is why they have different pricing. I wouldn't say they are misleading pricing. They are quite open. Registry will launch to all the registrar. This is actually your buy price. And you will see that the pricing varies between CCTLDs, GTLDs, and new GTLDs, basically.
Yeah.
Anything else?
Oh, yeah, there is a market. Anyone to add, to complement? Tony, I mean, yeah. We're not forgetting about you. I mean, you're still around, but okay, Hasnul, please.
Okay. Well, pricing is really depending on how you want to put it, because it's about value creation and it's value proposition. So if you're comparing that .ai versus like another .hotel and so on and so forth, they have different customers, different target group, different budgets. It's the same thing if we buy a mess and versus we buy the tepi jalan, where's tepi jalan? Basically, the side of the road bags. It's definitely going to be a different price. So in the domain name world, because of the so many diversities and different target markets, they will definitely have price differences. Is it misleading? Well, sometimes maybe it's misunderstanding about pricing. And depending on how much the registrars are putting into place. But I think a lot of the new GTLDs and a lot of the global TLDs, including CTLDs who go global, tend to make it a bit more uniform in terms of the domain name lifecycle. So they have certain periods where certain charges are like redemption and so on and so forth. So when you buy anything, go read the fine print, go understand it. Why? Because sometimes you may be caught in the middle of a problem. But overall, I think there's no deception of pricing. It's just a matter of every TLDs have a different offering and a different target market. We don't believe in lowering the price because it's dangerous of abuse. I was actually wanted to say after Sergey mentioned about abuse, because abuse is one of the things that we are so concerned about. If people don't trust domain names, then they will run to somewhere else that they think they trust. But if there's no governance in that, then how? There are many people who say, oh, this one is better because it's anonymous and so on. We have to balance, like yesterday's session, between disclosure and privacy. Because at the end of the day, we need to ensure that legit business go online, not the scammers. But if we keep on selling sub $1 and all those things, there's a danger that the hackers will definitely use it, and we want to avoid them so far. And pricing is one of the factors. It's not saying they're not going to take it, but it's one of the factors that deter them.
Very true, very true. Excuse me, I guess Tony, with his 20+ years in the industry, wants to add something. I guess the question also, Tony, the question also concerns that big gap between the initial price of the buy, of the purchase, and the renewal price as well. So that probably what causes our audience dissatisfaction. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's true, Leonid. There is an increasing misconception of pricing and its role with the end customers. So if you go back 15 years ago, significantly less domain extensions and registries that existed pre the new GTLD round in 2012, and a lot less registrars. And the pricing was very consistent. It was consistent at a registration and a renewal price. There have been a lot of changes in the last 15 years, and in particular the last 5 years. I mean, we look after a lot of extensions that we manage as a back end, and also obviously as GoDaddy that we sell to the public around the world. So there is a lot more registrars now. There's obviously a lot more extensions. That's created a lot more competition within the registry community. So there has been, as you point out, an emergence of a very discounted first renew of registration period. In some cases, very, very close to free, or $1 or $2 US, and then back to a normal standard price in a renewal context. That has caused some level of confusion. And many of the registries now are exploring what I consider to be like the hotel or airline prices, like more of a demand-based activity, to have tiered pricing, for example, for premium names and so on and so on. So I can accept and understand that is, from a consumer perspective, sometimes confusing, but the misconception around that is that it's the registry that's often doing that. There are a lot more registrars today than existed 15 years ago, or even 10 years ago. And the willingness of registrars to do it at a discounted price, sometimes at a very low margin in the order to sell websites or email, has created a very inconsistent pricing model for consumers. But just picking up on the previous point, and I'll be very quick, the trust is the key to all of this and what we do for the next 15 years. If we cannot establish and continue to work on abuse and maintain consumer trust, and that exists in the things that we know today, phishing attacks, scams, malware, etc., and the things that we haven't seen yet. But if we don't do a far greater community level of governance and control around abuse, this is ultimately why we have founded the Brand Safety Alliance, because we just think that this is one of the pillars of how do we make a safer internet for consumers. And from a company perspective, Jayce looks after some of the biggest companies in the world, as do we. It's also just for small and medium business. Businesses, whilst they can be a little bit complicated, they're used to domain names. They work, they're proven, they're comparatively simple to use. I think that the underlying default for a lot of people is to use domain names. I think they're used to them, they understand them. So the only real reason they're going to introduce major competition to that is if there's a better product, and so far we haven't really seen that, or if we do something to damage that trust. And when that trust is broken, then suddenly we start to entertain alternatives. And it's the same in our day-to-day life. If we have a product that we purchase from home and our dishwasher or our fridge doesn't work, we're not going to buy that brand again. It's the same context here. So we have to do everything we can to protect the foundation. And
thank you, Tony. I have to cut you short because we are just drawing to the closure of our session. And Sergey wants also to, did you want to highlight? Or would you rather give, oh, okay, John, sorry. Thank you, Tony, and John, please.
Yeah.
Be brief.
Thank you, Leonid. So for, let's say, 10 years ago, yeah, we calculate the cost based on, of course, the cost, the operating cost and something like that, yeah. But recently, I think we're facing a different thing, yeah, because if we're talking about how we increase the sales, then also we're facing deals with the big players. It's like, let's say, like Tony plays. So this big player is always pushing because they control all the marketing channel.
Ah, yeah. Now we know who are those fat cats,
they
right?
control the marketing channel. Then we have, so then we have to manage our ambition to go bigger than that. Yeah, I think we have to be more conservative because if we, let's say, follow the big player way, and then we will ruling our current markets. So it's, I don't think we have to be careful about that. Yeah. In reality, yes, we understand that there's big player who control the market. But also we have to balance still keep maintaining our income and revenue sales from the current operation.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you have to maintain the infrastructure, which is also costly. So for now, thank you very much. As you can see, we are really good at shifting responsibility. At the end of the day, there is someone else who is responsible for prices higher than a consumer would expect. And that someone is not us, but someone else. Okay. Anyway, so as we have very few minutes left, we have yet another poll for you because I understand that some of you may easily fall asleep at the end of a very long day for everyone. So if you could just pick up your phones and iPhones in particular, and if you could just help us see whether we were convincing enough in our deliberations. If you could just bring this poll on the screen, please. Can we? It will be very simple, trust me. Can we have this poll on the screen? Sorry for some technical delay. Can we? All right, so here it's coming. If you could just please help us understand how good we are at marketing. No, that's a different one. We have yet another one. For that one, we understand. It's a promising development. Do you have yet another one, Mira? It's coming? Okay. Okay. Yes. What will be your attitude to domain names as a result of this panel discussion? So the first option is, okay, you have convinced me and I'm going to shop for domain names. Option 2, no domain names shopping. Can you do it? Yeah, can you enlarge it, please, for now? No domain names shopping. I'd rather wait and see industry developments for another 10 years. And number 3, forget your domain names. Web 3.0 will kill them all. So please choose one option and try to help us understand how good we are. Okay. Can we have at least 20 responses for now? Oh my goodness. I mean, so many people dying to kill us.
The question, what will they use instead?
and some would just wait and see. Okay? Okay, and you have convinced me. Thank you very much, those 10 people. We've got quite a number of responses for now. Thank you. So if you need to buy any domain names, you know whom to talk to, right? So any final comments on this breakdown? Panel, I mean, Tony, if you're still with us, so it's 16 to 11 to 5. So any final comments? Because we have 3 minutes to go. John?
Yeah, the world is always like that, actually. So that's why it's our job to convince them and reconvince them again, and do some effort to make a domain name more understandable, and also they will finally use it. Thank you.
Will you dance for that? You know, we should be innovative and creative. Anyway, so please, anyone else to add? Tony? Any final words?
I'll just say, Leonid, I think that this has been a very enlightening panel for me to listen to. I think it goes back to the same thing that we're all saying here. We need to improve the level of trust that we have with consumers and education for them about the value of domain names. That's the job. I agree, we're not going to win everybody, but that's a very interesting poll. So it's good to see. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, 17 people. Anyone? Jayce? Sergey, please. I mean,
just wanted to add, like, Web3 killed them all. I would disagree with it, because like it's much at this point, at least, it's much less convenient and understandable for an average, I would say, user. Those are not tech savvy, and those are just need like to build maybe a small website for their small business. I'm not sure whether they're familiar enough with the technology to configure a Web3 thing for their website, but not the domain. Domain is much more easier. Maybe it will change, and that's why I said we need to to keep improving always to stay on top of technologies that is available for this.
Now you turn positive. Yeah, let's not talk about Web 3.0, but now you turn positive, indeed.
But that's my experience with Web 3.
Yeah, but
maybe yeah, and like I promoted a lot of TLDs in the market, right? And when you start talking to an average user of a retail register about Web3, it becomes very complicated for them.
Yeah, but remember iPhone effect. We need to be
exactly.
better than that.
That's why I say that we need to keep evolving as an industry.
Jayce, would you like to add? I mean,
yeah, I just want to thank this audience for keeping us on our toes and keeping us honest. You were a hard group, but thank God for the blue chart over here. So it shows that we have done our part in trying to, preserve the integrity of the domains. But the main thing is, we want it to grow to be a free world, but I think it's nice to let domain names grow as a free child, but with some boundaries. So which is why governance and compliance is important. That's why we have bodies like ICANN, WIPO, and all these stuff to keep us honest, to make sure there's a safe environment and a playground for all.
Thank you very much. With that, we have only 9, 8, 7 seconds left. I just want to thank our panelists for their very enlightening discussion. And that was a discussion in a sense. And thank you, the audience, for being with us and taking your eyes off your screens, which was at times very encouraging for all of us. And I guess that we will meet again next year for the next DNS forum. And then I guess John and I will try to perform some dance for you. Just to be more convincing and pushing you into the domain names purchases. Thank you very much for being with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much for an enlightening session, panelists and also moderator. Tony, thank you so much for staying with us, and please remain on screen as we continue with the photo session, same as the previous session. So please, the panelists, moderator, can you please be upstanding in front of the table? And Tony, do not please leave the screen, as we will also capture you to be a part of the panelists on this session. Continue with the photo session. Thank you so much for amazing session. Ladies and gentlemen, we will continue our part 2 session, ladies and gentlemen, later on after the tea break. Refreshment, coffee and tea are ready at the foyer area. So I will let you to enjoy the 15 minutes tea break before we are continuing our next session. So please enjoy your break session, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
It's getting harder every day. I'll never let go. You're the one that keeps me breathing time slow. Even though the world keeps spinning, and I know in my heart you'll